there's a difference, and I think you'd agree in saying, I want to have a space to be away from racism versus I want to keep you out of my institution because I think you're racially inferior to me.
I think they're sinister cousins of the same strain. I mean, like, segregation is wrong. Right?
But you believe in the Boy Scouts of America.
But that's not racial segregation, right?
So gender segregation is okay.
Because there's distinct differences between men and women, but there's not differences between the races.
Well, many people feel differently.
What are the differences between races?
There are all kinds of cultural differences that exist across cultures all over the world.
Hold on, not cultural, race, like melanin content.
Well, yeah, well, in America, Black Americans have our own culture. Now, there are other Black populations
I know,
here.
But like race, like actually the DNA of somebody.
Well, right. I understand what you're saying.
I'm saying there's no difference.
But the reality of those Black dorms historically, and part of why things are changing now is because we have a much more diverse Black population than we've had historically with more recent immigrants coming into the picture.
Well, we're seeing more Black dorms, like Black-only dorms, right? We're seeing like a kind of spread.
I don't know that to be true. If you say that's true, that's true.
Let's just pretend.
I haven't been in college.
Let's say that it's
15
neutral.
years.
Let's just say it's neutral. Like or I'll give you another example. Columbia University, Black-only graduation ceremony.
Yeah, lots of universities have that. It's not Black only. It's just an additional Black. It's just an additional
right, which
graduation.
I think is like racist and wrong and awful.
Okay.
But like, if there was a white-only graduation ceremony, how would you think about that?
Well, if there were like, I don't know, a Catholic ceremony or an Irish ceremony
but you can
or
convert to
a Hillel ceremony,
No, but,
I don't have an issue with it personally.
Okay, but Catholicism you can convert to, Hillel you could convert to, Irish.
Some people don't.
Well, you could convert to Judaism, but the Irish is culture, right, which is not racial inherently. There's very few people that aren't white that are Irish, but this idea of this like preference on melanin and DNA, like, isn't that really it's like a dangerous direction,
well, I
right?
can tell you, I didn't go to Black graduation, but lots of my friends did. And I would say that the people who went didn't do it because it was about DNA. They did it because they felt a cultural kinship with the other Black people in the class.
No,
and you don't have to respect that culture as much as you see Irish people as having a distinct culture. But I will tell you, Black people feel very much like we have a cultural kinship to each other.
But just to be consistent, like a white-only graduation ceremony, a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant graduation ceremony, morally, you'd be okay with.
If the WASPs feel culturally coherent and want to have a ceremony, then that's fine with me.
Okay, I want to try to de-Balkanize America, right? I think.
Sure.
I think these kind of the creation.
Unless it's the Boy Scouts.
Well, but that's gender. Gender differences are completely important for formative reasons, sociological reasons.
Do you think that it's wrong to have international houses at these universities?
I don't love it. I'll be very honest. I don't.
Okay, well then that's consistent, and that's fine.
I think that if you come to America, I want you to try to participate in our attempt to be a multiracial republic, right? In the attempt. Like, I don't love the idea of hyphen America. I don't like this idea of Chinese American, Iranian American, African American. I want to try, albeit clumsy, to strive towards the idea that I'm an American.
Hi. So you mentioned earlier, I have kind of a maybe complicated question. I agree with some of the points you made, and I kind of disagree. You mentioned earlier something about like the love yourself movement is just really bad. And I would say I agree with like a lot of self-reflection and like gives so much anxiety and depression to our generation because it's all just like me all the time. But at the same time, like, do you feel like there's a balance between loving yourself? Because I know that's helped me and that's helped many people be more comfortable with themselves and not have anxiety and have more, comfortability with the people around them and themselves. Like, do you feel like there's like, you have to be extreme one way or another, or like there's...
I'm glad it helped you. That's awesome. But I don't think we should teach it to our children, right? So I'll give you an example. If a poster said something like, in a 4th grade classroom, you're perfect the way you are. Do you think that's a good message? Like, what would your opinion? Just think about it for a second. I
disagree with that, no.
You disagree with it?
Yes.
Good. Yeah, you and me both, right? We agree. Because to tell a 4th grader you're perfect the way you are, why would they go to school, right? Like, why would they keep on studying and why would they keep on improving? Now, what you're getting at, though, is being gentle towards oneself and not being harsh on oneself. That's different than self-love, because I'm a big believer in self-respect. And that's completely different than self-love. I always want to make sure I have respect towards myself. Self-love is narcissism. Self-respect is I don't want to do a series of behaviors or choices where I might look at myself in the mirror and say, I'm not happy the way I acted. Does that make sense? So self-love can get into hyper-Eastern infatuation with your own being and the energy within, which if it helps you, praise God. I know it's helped a lot of people. but I don't think we should teach our children that. I think it could do a lot more damage than good. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless you. What is a woman?
I don't know. In your definition, it's someone who's born with ovaries.
I mean, I know what a woman is. I'm asking you what a woman is.
I believe that a woman is someone who identifies as that, like, gender.
Okay, but what is that, right? So
if I was born if I was born like with intersex, how would that change your view?
what do you mean extra chromosome? So XXY or XXY?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
How would that change? Would I be a woman or would I be a male?
Very, very rare an exception to the rule, but it depends which intersex you got, XXY or XY, right?
Okay. So how would that change your view of like being a woman or a male?
In what way?
If you're
You would identify as an intersex individual, right? Of whichever gender you have the predominant chromosomal tilt.
But what if your physical experience doesn't, like your phenotype doesn't match with that?
Why should your experience determine who you are?
But if I was intersex and presented as a female, you would think I was a female. But if I wanted to become a male, you'd be like, oh no, that's not right either.
There's a lot of hypotheticals. So I'm trying to understand your question. So if you were intersex,
yes.
What's your name?
No.
Okay, got it. Then what would the question be?
If I'm female presenting, how does that mean that like I shouldn't be allowed to present as a male, which is what I identify as?
Right. So I say this again: intersex is exceptions to the rule. What we're debating mostly is the rule. So let's first get the rule right?
But let's use that same ideology to abortions. The rule, hypothetically speaking, you getting raped is rare. But in the case you do get raped, you should be able to
as a man, I wouldn't get pregnant if I was raped, right? But
well, yeah. But
so you agree?
Yeah, lucky you.
You agree men can't become pregnant?
No, I agree. You can't get pregnant.
Well, you're assuming my gender.
Okay, you just told us you're a guy. I mean, you literally just said you had a baby girl.
Yes.
And I'm assuming you're a guy because I don't see a pregnancy belly.
You understand, you don't have to go through this kind of political correct calisthenics. It's okay to say that men are men and women are women.
If that's what you want to say.
The tyranny of this postmodernist world you guys live in is remarkable. It really is. I mean,
in what way?
What?
In what way? Elaborate.
Well, first of all, the rules are always changing. It's not rooted in biological reality. It creates very miserable and depressed people. And deep down, you should hear me when I really get going. Come up here if you want to talk. And deep down, biological men and biological women actually want to be what their chromosomes dictate. And defying the natural law actually creates deeply unhappy people.
Why is that? Have you
the evidence shows us.
The evidence of the doctors, the physicians, the Pediatric Association, the Endocrinological Association, all agree that gender dysphoria.
What if they're wrong?
What if the research says they're right? You're saying all these hypotheticals.
You know lobotomies used to be endorsed by every major American medical association for over 100 years and performed. There were over 50,000 lobotomies.
Okay,
and they were wrong.
We're not talking about lobotomies.
Well, no, I'm talking about what happens when scientists are wrong. What if doctors are wrong? What if all of a sudden they're playing into something that isn't rooted in truth?
What are they playing into?
Into a mass political wave that tries to categorize gender dysphoria as something it isn't, where it is a mental issue. God bless them. I hope they get compassion and help and therapy and assistance.
I heard you say that it's just something that happens overnight, when in reality it's something that you cannot get your parts cut off after, it's a very long process and it requires different psychiatrists. You have to start testosterone first, which requires multiple years, and even then multiple people are
let me ask you about psychiatrists. Do you think it's the role of psychiatrists and counselors to affirm or to challenge?
They're supposed to listen to their patient.
Okay.
That's their role.
Hold on. So do you believe in gender affirming care?
Yes.
I don't. It's not the role of a therapist to affirm your mental condition. You should be challenged towards truth and where you're going to find true freedom.
Who's not going to give you that?
The truth will.
What truth? Your truth or my truth?
There's only one truth.
What truth is that?
Let me ask, are we having a conversation right now?
Yes.
Because it's true.
Okay, so what truth is that?
It is the truth.
They're having a true conversation too. They're speaking too.
But okay, let me ask you: Can you identify as any species you want to? Cheetah, llama, zebra?
That's completely different.
Well, hold on a second. If you can identify as any gender, why can't you identify as a different species?
It's categorically different.
Why?
Yeah,
Why?
Okay, real quick, my name's Amari.
Nice to see you.
I do work with TX for abortion, so I'm all around. I've talked to a bunch of people on the same level.
Okay, so you promote abortions?
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
Okay, anyways, back to this. Categorically different. It's the same reason as to why laws are made regarding to humans as opposed to dolphins, even though intelligence-wise, you could say oh, there are certain animals that are more intelligent than there are certain humans, but categorically we are different.
Why are we different?
Based on different things such as intelligence.
Yeah, what is a human being?
One sec. I'm going to define it as personhood, and then we'll go from there. Personhood, consciousness, the ability to feel pain, nerve systems, movement, communication, the bunch of linguistic differences that put us above the rest of the animal kingdom.
So a chimpanzee has all those things. Why are they not a human being?
Personhood.
Why? No, but what about a chimpanzee?
Personhood.
No, but what about it? What about it?
The same
There's
reason
a very
why...
obvious answer you're missing.
Okay, go ahead.
There's a soul in a human being.
Okay, well, I mean, you can prove that there's souls in other things.
Now, the way I framed it, and you agreed with most of it, do you now understand why most parents are really scared and apprehensive of this being implemented, right? Because they don't want that vision. They don't want 1950s America where it was segregated.
Yes, but so here's the thing: is we're no between the two of
I'm
us,
not.
right?
I don't want segregation.
Is a topic of debate, but it is also a political tool, right? And it is a very handy political tool because for the average Virginia suburban person, when they hear CRT and they see conversations, about books that have racy stuff in it, that stuff taps right into emotion, right? Fear, threat, and emotion. So to me, whether or not the merits of CRT, a theory like that in the right setting, certainly not in K through 12, but diversity and inclusion education in K through 12, to me, those things, you have to take into account that, the difference of how an average person's going to hear that, right? They're not going to realize, oh, what Charlie Kirk means is, this theory that, the whole system is designed in a supremacist way, and that, the white power structure has, rigged the rules, da 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 da. That's not what a parent hears. What a parent hears is, they're making my kid feel bad about being white.
Well, yeah, let's
right?
just start with, that's fair. What's wrong with a parent being upset about that? Should a kid feel bad for something he didn't do?
Well, I mean, it all's fair in love and politics, right? And especially here in American politics, where we don't have any regulation on campaign speech, on campaign material, and stuff like that. So, to my answer would be
regulation. That's not totally true, but
well,
yeah,
very little, right? And so, what my answer would be to that is, it's a handy, expedient political weapon, and because of that, Democrats should behoove themselves to answering it with a counteroffense.
Okay,
right?
so I'm actually really curious to what you think the counteroffense is, but let's just kind of forget the political charge of it. If a kid comes home and is being taught he's terrible because he's white, or that's how he feel, isn't there something wrong with that? Shouldn't that be fixed? No 8-year-old should have to feel guilt because of something he didn't do.
Yeah, it's just, but where are the 8-year-olds that are coming home like that? I have not met one.
The whole Virginia election kind of showed that there's plenty, right?
Familiar with Christopher Hitchens?
Yeah, the atheist.
Okay, so Christopher Hitchens' statement is that while religion may occasionally make bad people do good things, if you want to get good people to do bad things, you use religion. How would you respond to that?
So, do you hold that view, or just curious?
Yes.
Oh, you do? Okay. Well, what is good?
Well, anything that benefits people. I mean, I'm not.
Okay, but
really, I don't really have a cogent definition of good, but there are certainly plenty of examples where religious differences have been leveraged to create horrendous atrocities.
Yeah, just the question is, what is horrendous and what is good, right? So absent a belief in God, how do you have a definition of good?
What benefits mankind?
Yeah, so Hitler thought killing Jews benefits mankind. Was he wrong?
Right. Hitler was also a Catholic and promoted the...
Not a very good one.
And also was promoting his sort of the pagan Germanic religion.
Yeah, so Stalin was an atheist who went to seminary, denounced God,
yep.
Killed 40 million people, but who's to say they're wrong? They said they were benefiting humanity.
Well, I think you can make that, you can argue against that based on using science.
How?
Well, the more diversity you have, the more likely you are to survive.
What? No, I don't quite understand. No, I'm curious.
Okay.
Like, but
So,
by eliminating diversity.
so evolution is descent through modification and survival of the fittest. So the more genetic variation you have, the more likely you are to develop at least some part of that population that would be able to withstand any sort of environmental change. So genocides, I think from a scientific standpoint, you can't use science to support that.
Okay, so then why was there a lot of literature supporting eugenics?
Because people are stupid.
Oh, I agree, right. So, but then, so you're saying science, okay, so that's an interesting question. So you think Darwinism can support an agreed upon
What's Darwinism? Because Darwin never used the
origin
term
of
Darwinism.
species? Like his,
Okay, but that's not Darwinism, that's evolution.
okay, so how about the moral idea that the survival of the fittest?
Well, it's not really a moral idea, it's a kind of a fact.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So I kind
Now,
of get,
but you can make the case that, so I think there are people who would say, well, if you have people who are sort of have genetic defects, that they shouldn't be allowed to survive, and I think that's horrendous.
but why? Why do you have that belief?
Again, this idea behind genetic diversity.
Yeah, but if someone has a low IQ, aren't they kind of just like a strain on society? Why wouldn't we eliminate them?
You can't predict on the basis certainly of IQ.
No, sure we can. We do it all the time. We do chromosomal testing. I mean, in Iceland, they've gotten rid of kids with
Right,
Down
with Down
syndrome.
syndrome. And
Do you agree with
again,
that?
No,
Why?
because those folks with Down syndrome lead full lives that are
Well,
helpful
no, hold
to
on.
other
No,
people.
they require someone to support them. So shouldn't we eliminate them?
Not all of them.
Why?
Yeah,
by
not
what
all
mo-
of them.
hold on, by-
Down syndrome is a spectrum.
But
It's not simply a trisomy 21. It's a lot more complicated.
I'm getting at a point here, which eventually it's going to be your opinion versus mine of what is good.
Okay, but I think you can qualify good scientifically.
Right, but the scientific good in Iceland is Down syndrome are a strain on the environment, strain on resources. They're unproductive. They can't produce. So we might as well eliminate them, right?
Well, I would say that's a mistake. They don't.
But their scientists disagree. So by what standard is good
Well,
good?
Who are their scientists?
The international world community is doing this. Let me ask you another question, though. Do you believe in the Big Bang?
Yes.
So you believe that time, space, and matter had a definitive beginning?
Yes.
Okay, so by definition, shouldn't therefore the thing that caused time, space, and
No.
matter be outside of time, space, and matter?
No, that's a.
So you don't believe in Newtonian physics?
No, actually, I don't. I believe more in quantum physics because.
Okay, so you don't believe for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction?
Newtonian physics works well on large scales, but
Yeah, the universe is pretty large, dude. Like,
Wait, the Big Bang rests on quantum mechanics.
not applied by Newtonian physics because it's the largest possible scale imaginable? So how
No.
exactly did the Big Bang happen if there wasn't someone that effectuated the Big Bang?
Okay, so it's a bit complicated. It has to do with quantum. Now, I'm not saying.
No, it's actually not. It's that the only thing that could have made something that is space, time, and matter is something that transcends space, time, and matter, aka a God. That's the only explanation.